and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, discussion of items to be included on the consent agenda.
Okay, so I sent you guys an email about this, and then I thought it might just be easier for us to discuss it together. So I'm sure that you've noticed over the months that we've had some changes with our agenda. And what I would say is that when I first came, I knew enough about board agendas to just be dangerous. And Gretchen had just started, and Dr. Bellows just started. So what we started doing was sending the board agendas to OSSBA to have them look at them, because they look at them all the time and provide us with feedback. And so we've been using their feedback to make changes, and it looks a little bit different. And so when I was out sick, Gretchen had talked to Julie Miller about our consent agenda and what it meant for a consent agenda, and if we discuss items, it's not really a consent item, and so that's how it kind of changed up. So I thought we could open up for discussion. Are there items that you feel we don't discuss a lot? And I think there are some items that we don't discuss a lot to be on our consent agenda. And so typically agreements and travel are on the consent agenda, but what I got kind of as a consensus from people was that if it was something that was really different, like a new agreement or a new contract, you would like it to be separated off instead of that being on the consent agenda. If it was a large trip, like our DC trip or our Israel trip, you would like for that to be separated from, say, a basketball tournament that's in the state and they're going to Ardmore. And so I just wanted to open that up for your discussion and see if that's how you guys all felt collectively as we're making this consent agenda. I do know we like to discuss the encumbrances, so it would be my recommendation to leave those off the consent agenda and us discuss those. And then, anyways, I'll see what you guys have to say.
I have a question for you about the agreement. So I'm assuming that somebody has reviewed the agreement before it gets here. Our attorneys are, how does that work exactly?
So
what's your process?
So if it's a new agreement, I do send it to the attorney, or if it's a specific agreement. For example, the child nutrition agreement that we're renewing for this year, I felt like I wanted him to look at that, and it wasn't really the same, and so I've sent that, and I didn't put it on this evening because I didn't feel comfortable putting it on until he had reviewed that.
Okay.
So just kind of based on if it's new, or if I'm kind of worried about it. If it's a typical one that we do every year, like say Infinite Campus, and it's just their typical price increase, and when you read through the agreement, it's the same, I don't typically send that to the attorney.
Right.
Because it's just repetitive, and maybe they've had like a 3% increase, which is pretty typical or pretty normal, and so I just put it on there. So that's how I would answer that question.
Also, the consent agenda means we don't discuss it.
Yes, you can say something like, is there anything new? And I can say, yeah, this is, but we're probably going to pull new things off and put them on their own line item. I also, Mr. Pettit had me ask Miss Miller at OSSBA, and if there's something that you see on the consent agenda, you can ask for it to be taken off the consent agenda and put and discussed after the consent. So everything else is
at the time of the meeting?
Yes, when we start reviewing the consent agenda.
Like whenever I announce the consent agenda and I get to that item and you'd say you wanted to talk about FNBO purchasing card agreement, you could request that we move that item out of the consent.
Okay.
I also spoke with Mr. Walstead on the phone, and we are going to start being very diligent about having the consent agenda items done by the end of the day Thursday, so that you guys are able to review those several days in advance and not make any changes to the consent agenda, so that if you have a question that you would like to ask beforehand, you are able to either call or email and let us know.
Okay.
So that we could pull it out before we actually publish.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions? I know our old ones were always reviewed by Center for Ed Law, and I'm sure a lot of the differences are just like whenever you go ask any two lawyers, you're gonna get
You're
two
gonna get a
answers.
different,
So,
yeah.
But I appreciate the trying to make sure we're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other
Any other
discussion on that?
questions?
Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. First item under there, 4A, is the minutes. Any modifications or anything? And 4B is, do I have to read all those? I don't remember. Did we get an answer on that on consent? I don't have to read the consent, but I do have to read the executive.
Well, I'm not sure. We'll have to find out.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's another thing we never really read. Well, we never had the agreements up here. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. Discussion with possible action to approve the following contracts agreements for fiscal year 25, the Center for Education Law Agreement, B, Infinite Campus OLR Prime Agreement, C, No Red Ink Agreement, D, Infinite Campus Yes Agreement, E, FNBO Purchasing Card Agreement, F, YMCA Equipment Rental Agreement, G, OCAS Consulting with Stephanie Fowler, Consulting on ADPC with Stephanie Fowler, E, Oklahoma Building Services Agreement, F, Physical Therapy Agreement, G, BPS RBT Training Contract, H, Land Care Agreement, I, OSIG Annual Agreement, J, Contract for Professional Services for Conceptual Bomb Planning. Those items, any questions on those? Not financials. Unforeseen.
I will just comment that we're getting everything closed out, and the activity fund accounts look good. Most of them are very healthy. We are on track. We've not overspent, and we've not had to do an adjustment to our budget for general fund, and we're looking really good. Our collections really haven't changed a lot.
Okay, I have a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve, is it 4C or
4A through C.
4A through C?
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Wallstad,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 5, discussion and action to approve the encumbrances for the general fund non-payroll number 942 to 983 for $193,572.83. General fund payroll number 70,000 through 70,872 for $13,189,807.74. Change orders for general fund 31,464.10. The encumbrances for the building fund non-payroll were 17 through 19, 15,660, and change order for the sinking fund encumbrances 43,706.25.
Just a quick question on 949 with Chromebooks. Are these replacement of Chromebooks? Are they new Chromebooks?
They're going to be new Chromebooks, and those are being purchased with our 511 Title I funds.
Okay.
And so we have some that have gone past the 5-year mark, and so we're just adding some new Chromebooks to our fleet as those start to kind of go down, and then we've had them for a while. So we will get reimbursed for those from the State Department of Education.
Okay. And those, that 5-year, are we seeing that we're getting 5 years out of them, or?
I'll have to defer that to Mr. Forrester.
Yeah, I think so. I think just some of the, that will replace a couple carts in the middle school and a couple carts in the elementary. We try to replace a couple each year because they just, they just get dinged up and, breakages wise and things like that. And some of the ones that we first bought are getting toward that upper end, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
That would have been about the first purchases, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yep. So,
And you mentioned iPads, so
yes.
how are we set up here at Bethany? So iPads at what grades?
iPads primarily in pre-K through first.
Okay.
And then I know in first they also introduced Chromebooks there as well, but it's mainly Chromebooks from then on up. So, but we've asked for we've asked for Chromebooks at that level, but they said that they'd rather use iPads for that for pre-K through first.
They meaning the staff?
The teachers.
The
yeah.
teachers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
So,
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I see two different purchases for iPads, 960 and 971.
Okay, 960 is specific to Title One.
Okay.
And 971 is actually, it's coming out of also federal funds, but 518, which is specific to the Children's Center. So they're
Oh,
separated
gotcha.
because they're coming out of two different federal funds.
Okay.
Any other questions on those? The next thing is our change order report. We did have to increase our purchase order for ImageNet. It's our copiers, the ink replacement, the staple replacement, the paper. So that was a pretty significant increase. We also had to go up on our purchase order for more therapy. We just used a lot of that this year, so we had to increase that PO to finish out the year. For building fund, we do have, we're working on upgrading an area for Miss Turnius in the ECC, and have that be a flexible space that can be used for her when she's counseling with students or speaking with teachers, but also if it's needed, just for students for any kind of intervention time also. And then we are also looking at some cafeteria updates. So that is PO number 19 out of the building fund. And then we have a payment that is due out of the sinking fund, and it's due on July 1st. So I decided to go ahead and increase our PO in the sinking fund for this year and go ahead and cut that check so we make sure we get it to them there on July 1st.
Have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve item 5.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Wallstad,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 6, discussion and possible action to approve the district's capacity of students in each grade at each school site as presented.
So if you'll look at the chart there, you'll see, we continue to be conservative with our numbers. In the lower grades, these numbers are lowered slightly, not a ton, but slightly. You'll also notice that most of those numbers are already right at those numbers or over those numbers. So obviously what we're trying to anticipate is future growth in the high school level, and we'll continue to work on legislation and things like that to help with that. But in the meantime, we're trying to play it really conservative for the lower grades to prepare for that, which does mean potentially a little less funding, but right now it really doesn't to a large degree because we're kind of making up some numbers at the high school, and so our hope is to balance that out over time. And when that balances out, hopefully we'll be able to maybe, possibly, or maybe not, adjust some of those lower grade numbers. But right now, we continue to lower those numbers a little bit more every year, hoping to find that right balance for the natural growth that occurs before they get to 9th grade. So, again, most of our openings are going to be in pre-K, kindergarten, it's like 1 and 3rd grade. And then, one significant change you may notice or remember is in 10th grade, that class was up to about 167 or 70, it was somewhere around there. And we have lost a lot of students, or we anticipate losing a lot of students in that grade just from people moving out, things like that. One little problem with that is that we kind of planned for there to be a lot of students, but that's something that's not a bad thing right now. And we do have some staff transfers that we're looking to allow to happen and things like that. So just have a couple numbers here and there, but
What happens when somebody moves into the district?
yeah, great question. So, and that's some of that natural growth that occurs. So when we set these numbers, even at the elementary level, so when we say 100 kids in first grade, and that current number is currently 102, really when school starts, that number could be 104 or 105, and that's where we have to be real careful, because whatever number we set, that's the absolute lowest number that we're gonna get. But the reality is, people are going to move in. People who find out they didn't get a transfer, now they have an option to try to look for a house in district, and sometimes they'll move in, and that'll bump your numbers up. So that's another reason why we try to be real conservative. I would tell you, some of those numbers like in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, we would be okay with that number being 115, but we kind of feel like we're probably going to get there anyways because people are going to move into the district.
So which numbers are we actually approving? Is it the 1639 or the 1650?
The 1639 is the
October.
capacity that
That's
the capacity
what gets put, the total,
Current.
yeah, the October capacity is what gets published.
Yeah.
Oh,
1650 is our current enrollment, what we know of right now, correct?
okay, right.
Yeah.
That
And-
1650 is current. And
yeah.
then
With the exception of pre-K is the anomaly there because
Yes.
we know that's going to be 80 kids, but right now we just have 32 in-district kids
Right.
pre-enrolled. So that 1650 will be 1700 easily, and again, probably, well, right around there actually, right around 1700, which is a good number.
Do we
for
know
us.
about Banner? Do we know how many?
Yeah, well,
And does
kind
this
of.
number include that?
No, it doesn't. So we
Okay.
did set that number at 120. That number's not going to be 120 when we start school, so that's another number that's going to bump that above 1700. The reason we set that number is, again, because we know the 120 is the number of students we have coming from 8th grade to 9th grade, but that doesn't include the automatic transfers. But we don't need to adjust that number for the automatic transfers. They'll get to come regardless of that capacity number. So we're setting that number right there so that there's no chance we're gonna bring any extra in. It's just, it's not gonna matter because they're automatic. They don't have to abide by the capacity number, so.
As in district. With that question then, so our high school, we're as large as we've ever been.
Correct, yeah.
But we're still showing that we have 2 spots open in the sophomore class. If we know we've got all these freshmen, why wouldn't we not make 2 spots open in the sophomore class?
Yeah, some of that's like we have a teacher kid moving in, and other situations where.
So
Yeah.
those are separate, those would be separate?
Right, yes. What do you mean separate?
So if a teacher comes into our district, they are allowed to bring their student
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
So they're like
Yeah.
a banner kid, essentially.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what grade, they get to come.
But
They're
you-
like an in-district, I guess.
But we're
And some-
forecasting them in there.
yeah, and some of, no, they're not in that number yet. Yeah,
The 2 doesn't include it,
right,
Yeah.
that,
right?
I thought you said the 2,
Well-
we
so that number, 150 does not include any staff kids or that might transfer in. And there are also times where we try to look at like siblings who may be trying to get in, and if we think that's a possibility that they've been trying, sometimes we'll do things like that to try to keep families together. So there are times where that may happen too.
I'm confused.
I'm a little bit confused too, because 154 is what I was referring to.
Right.
And you said that we have 2 spots in the sophomore class because we know of teachers coming in with kids.
Right. Yes.
We don't have to forecast them though. They get to come in anyway, correct?
Right. Yes.
So why would we increase
Well,
capacity?
again,
overall?
sometimes we're trying to look at like sibling situations where, again, a family may be trying to keep their family together, and we're trying to produce opportunities for maybe that to happen if we feel good about it and feel good about the numbers to be able to do that. But we couldn't do that if we didn't forecast that in, because we would start with the staff kids, if that makes sense. So if you start with the staff kids and then you look now you're going to be at capacity, so you can't look at siblings. So our policy is you can look at siblings if you have capacity, but you can't look at siblings if you don't have capacity.
So we have a couple in mind.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question because this is my first time to see this.
Sure.
what is this, what are we actually approving?
So, okay, let me back up a little bit on that. So, the board approves, the new law, when it changed, it said every school board approves the capacity for each grade level that they are setting for transfers. Once you have that number, then you go to your list and you look first come, first serve, whoever's on that list, and you bring that number of students into your population for capacity.
So this is only transfer capacity?
Correct.
Okay, it's not,
Yes,
Okay.
as far as capacity. So the far right number, the current vacancies, is only related to transfers.
I got you.
But the capacity number will change if someone moves into district, if that makes sense. So,
Why?
I'm sorry, it will fill that up to that capacity. So let's just say in pre-K, for example, we say we have 48 slots right now. Well, if 3 kids move into district and we enroll them, now we don't have 48 slots anymore. We have 45 slots because those kids just filled some of that capacity.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is both then, not just transfer, but in district capacity?
Yeah, but we can go over that number if, for instance, any of grades first through, or first or second that show there's 0, if kids move in, we have to take them. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what our capacity
Right,
says.
right.
But if
We
have
would
to
be
do
over
transfers.
capacity.
Yeah. But if, let's just say your capacity is 100 kids and you know, have someone on your transfer list, you cannot bring them in at all. But if you drop down to 99, you have to bring them in. You have to bring the next person on the list
I
into
see.
the number.
I
And that's why you set that capacity. It's kind of like accountability for districts to set a number that you don't have a choice. You have to get to that number. If you're not there, you've got to add
For
kids.
transfer?
Yeah, if you're over it or added or over it, you cannot bring transfers in.
I got
So
you.
it's kind of a accountability thing as it relates to transfers.
I see,
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah,
And we have to do it once every 3 months.
Quarterly.
Oh, is that right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we do it every quarter.
I have a motion on item 6.
Motion to approve item 6.
Second, I
Roll
guess?
call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Wellstat.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 7, discussion and possible action to approve the following out-of-town, out-of-state overnight trips. A, varsity yearbook camp professional development in Grapevine, Texas from July 14th to the 16th, 2024.
I make a motion.
All these,
Oh,
sorry,
go ahead.
all these attachments are all the same thing. It just, instead of being scanned in together, it's just in separate things. So
Oh, okay.
it's all related to the same thing.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. I was gonna make a motion to approve item number 7.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Wellstat.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. 8, motion for executive session. Do we need this?
Yeah, motion to go into executive session.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Jaggers,
Yes.
Wellstat.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Let's see, I need to click on that.
Agenda item, right?
Yeah.
Okay, during the executive session, only the members of the board and the superintendent were present. The only items discussed were those listed on the agenda and no votes were taken. Item 9, discussion and possible board action on the employment of certified personnel and support personnel in addendum A for the 24-25 school year.
I make a motion to approve the employment of certified personnel and support personnel in addendum A for 24-25 school year.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jaggers.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 10, discussion possible board action on the employment of extra duty personnel as listed in addendum B for the 24-25 school year.
Make a motion to approve the employment of extra duty personnel as listed in addendum B for the 24-25 school year.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jaggers.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
I was gonna congratulate you.
Yeah.
Walk out.
You left too quick.
He was so excited. Go get out. I was going
Ice cream.
I literally was gonna
Leave
come
before
shake
we
hands,
change
but I was
your
like, it's not
mind.
official yet. I mean, he took the time to be here tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
right.
did.
Well, we told him he was addendum A,
Oh, you did?
so.
The shortest employment ever. See, no, actually, don't leave. We're good. They changed their mind.
There he comes. Here he goes.
We can congratulate you.
Yeah.
You don't even hear Noah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Sorry.
I didn't know if the guy didn't want the job. Congratulations. Glad to have you on board.
I do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Excited to work.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys. See you again this time.
Item 11, discussion possible board action on the resignations as listed in addendum C.
Motion to approve the resignations as listed in addendum C.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jaggers.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Item 12, discussion and possible action on contract extension of the superintendent of schools.
I make a motion to approve the contract extension of the superintendent of schools for 1 year, for an additional year. Would that be right?
Yes, that's right.
Second?
Roll call vote?
Jaggers.
Yes.
Wellsted.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes. Informational items?
Just want to remind the board, the OSSBA and COSA Education Leadership Conference is August 22nd through 25th, so you may put that on your calendars. There'll be some great PD for that and take care of a lot of your requirements as well. So put that on your calendar and hopefully you'll be able to join us there. If not, that's okay too, but love to have you join us.
Item 14, board member comments.
I would just say thanks to our building level administrators and Ms. Williams as well. So what a great year it's been. Thanks for all of your efforts and Dr. Bellows as well, and all of the teachers. It's amazing how quick these school years come and go, for me to say anyway. But thank you for all you all do and leading our district. Thank you.
Second.
Third.
Roll call vote.
Superintendent's report.
Yes, I want to thank the board also for your support all year long. It's been a great year. I agree with that, but it's required a lot of support, and you guys have been an awesome board to work with. So certainly appreciate that. Since the last time we've met, we've successfully ended the year and had graduation and in-school activities, and we're moving into summer and trying to get a little bit of rest, but also gearing up for an exciting start of next year. We do have many improvements going on around the district. You may have noticed a lot of blue tarps around the buildings. And so I'm just going to list out some of the things we have going on because one of the things we've talked about is Better in Bethany. And one way that we want to continue to improve is with our facilities, and not just adding facilities, but making sure the facilities we have are maintained and kept, but then also trying to find ways to make our facilities better. So just some of those projects going on right now. The ECC's playground is adding some adaptive play equipment, and we've seen that completely transform all year. They're still not done, still continuing. It's amazing what they're doing, and excited to see that. They're also adding an office/meeting space that Mrs. Turnus will use, but also can be used for parent meetings, interventions. We've never had a good space for those types of things to happen confidentially, and so this will provide us with a great space to be able to do several things. The blue tarps I mentioned, those are for the roof, which you know, I know I've shared with this board a lot of pictures of leaking tiles and places where we have leaks in our building, and every time it rains we have a ton of water leaks, and so this is something that was necessary and we should be taking care of for 20 years into the future, and that's really exciting to use some of the funds that we currently have to invest into the future, so that down the road we have funds available for other things that we'd like to do. The high school office renovation will be starting soon as well, along with the teacher workroom. Elementary is also looking to renovate their staff and workrooms. Excited about that, for them to have a great space. Mueller Street is about to be redone, and the city of Bethany is really working hard to update some of their streets and some of their recent progress, and that's going to be one of them that happens. So that street is going to get over.
This whole thing right here?
Yep,
All the way
everything
to
on Mueller.
50th?
I believe so, but don't quote me on that. I
Okay.
know in front of our school, but I think all the way down. And so we're excited.
That's awesome.
That should be happening very soon, like any day or Monday.
To be done before school starts?
Yes, absolutely. That was a requirement. And I will say, to say this publicly, I told them this today when I met with them, that they have done a great job of working with us as a school district. There were a couple times where some crews showed up ready to do some demo and some things out there, and we were saying, please, will you just wait till Thanksgiving, or please just wait till Christmas? And they've always accommodated that and been great to work with, so we appreciate the city in that. We're also in the process of looking at some sidewalks around our campus to provide safe walking spaces for kids to come and go from school. That is very much in the planning process, and again, trying to talk through that. But we want to be able to provide that. We have some places that we just don't have sidewalks that we should, and even some places that kids struggle to find a good path to get to school that we want to try to work with some people to address. Paint crews are already working around the district, and we just continue to try to find areas that we can improve. And so a lot of things going on. Mr. Mont and his team doing a fabulous job with that. Another big highlight taking place is communication and social media. I'm sure you guys have seen the push out of, the app is coming. One thing we haven't talked too much about is there's a website coming as well. It's all been worked on in the background, so it's there, but you just can't see it yet. When we're ready to flip that switch, a new website will come live. We'll be much more functional with changes and being able to make edits, and I think we'll be much more functional for parents as well. And so really the goal behind all of this with our app and Apogee is trying to be a little more streamlined with our communication, and to have more communication. So celebrating our kids, celebrating our successes, letting parents know, hey, these great things are happening. That's the social media piece of it. But then also when we need to get a message out, being able to get that out efficiently. We were using Infinite Campus to do that. It just wasn't very efficient. It worked, but it wasn't very efficient in that way. This will translate for families. And then rooms is something that we haven't talked a lot about, but right now we use a lot of things: GroupMe, Remind, email, a lot of different ways to communicate with parents. And depending on your organization, you probably have a lot of these things coming at you. Apogee and Rooms will provide a place where it all comes from one place, while also allowing us to see those things as well. So also another one that I'm excited about is including parents in those conversations. So even if we send a message out to a group of students. Parents will be able to see that as well, because I know that's been something that parents just want to be in the know, even if their kids are responsible and able to take care of themselves, which we've got great responsible kids. Parents just kind of want to have a heads up sometimes as well. So excited about all of that. Also want to add on to what Mr. Wallstad said about our administrative team. If you consider, we had a new CFO, new elementary principal, new high school principal, new special services director, and 4 new assistant principals this year, which is sometimes not mentioned. There was a lot of transition and a lot of change, and if you take any one of those positions, there would be a lot of learning that has to occur. But as I think about that, the things that we have been able to accomplish, and not just things we've been able to accomplish, but the way that they work together has been amazing. They've really gelled. They have good chemistry between them, and so very excited about having all of those positions rolling over again, because they did great things when it was a little chaotic starting, and we're all learning and we're all figuring each other out. To think that now we're going to be able to roll into a year knowing each other better, knowing how we work together better, and knowing Bethany better is just going to help us out. So I'm really excited about that, but can't say enough about what they were able to accomplish even with all those variables, because any one of those positions would have been a challenge. When you add all those together, it's just phenomenal that they were able to keep Bethany as we move through that transition. So, which also included me, by the way. So they had to be patient with me as well. So I just appreciate them as well. So that is my report.
We're adjourned.